Hello, greetings. This is the boxing profile for boxer Tom Lees from Australia. He was one of the boxers at the beginning wave of the Australian rise of the Australian boxers in the mid 1880s. He stood 5'11" and a half and weighed 170 pounds. I read a newspaper story about Tom Lees when he was traveling the countryside of Australia, and a lady was having problems with a kangaroo there that was harassing their family and their children. And Tom Lees was on the scene, and he calmly asked the lady if anything was wrong, and she said the kangaroo wouldn't leave him alone. And Tom Lees walked up and proceeded to knock the kangaroo out with one punch, and the family thanked him for it, and went on his way. And she's like, they were just amazed at the strength that he displayed. And Tom Lees, like the story goes, is from Australia. He made his debut at the age of 25 in Australia, and he immediately started fighting. I think these are all fighters from the Larry Foley school that Joe Choyinski talks about. They're, as they all were part of a network of the Australian underground fighting there that was going on in the mid 1880s. And I think Tom Lees made his debut here against another fellow colleague, Peter Jackson. And the first fight that he had here is in January of 1884 against Peter Jackson. And he's 25 years old, and he immediately starts fighting some of the very best fighters, as although Peter Jackson was a little bit younger than him, they were all fighting head-to-head immediately right out of the gate of their professional career. Just for reference here, as we examined the fighters that were born around Tom Lees. Let's see here. Tom Lee was born June 16th, 1858. And these are the very beginning of the early pioneers. As the very first fighter, the oldest one that dates back, is Bill Farnan from Australia. And he was quite a bit older in age than all of these other Australian fighters, as he's born in 1851. 1853 is George Old Chocolate Godfrey. 1856, George LeBlanc, and then 1858, Tom Lees. And also born at the exact same age as Tom Lees would be 1858, John L. Sullivan. 1859, Jake Kilrain, which unfortunately Tom Lees did not fight. 1861, Harry Lang, and 1861, Peter Jackson, and 1861, Joe Goddard. As I stated previously in a previous video, all of these fighters were coming up in Australia in the mid-1880s, as Australia was the hotbed for boxing at that time in the 1880s. Everyone wanted to fight there because they were treated very good and very fairly by the Australian people, and it was a hotbed for fighting. So as we go through here, I'm going to read the bio first of Tom Lees here. Okay, this is the boxing profile for Tom Lees, the bio, as we go through here. Tom Lees is the last ranked fighter that I'm going to do here. He's ranked number 59, and Tom Lees is born in 1858 in Australia. Bio, Tom Lees started at the age of 25, like most of the early pioneers, tailed off at the age of 30, retired at the age of 33. Tom Lees fought 250 rounds of boxing. His fighting style would be described as defensive style. Competitive rounds, I have him at 107 competitive rounds. That means a higher skill level than average. My score for him would be 9. His chief nemesis was Peter Jackson, and he fought a total of 52 rounds against Peter Jackson. How many of these were exhibitions instead of actual boxing matches is questionable. I am not certain on that. His greatest achievement would be going 30 rounds with Peter Jackson in a boxing match. Simulation. This is how Tom Lees did in simulation. Tom Lees was a cut above many of his Australian counterparts, like Bill Heffernan and a lot of the wave of the Australian fighters. Let's see, his best simulation wins here. His best simulation wins were against fighters Rube Ferns, Jack Twin Sullivan, Joe Gaines, Dan Creedon, another fellow Australian, fireman Jim Flynn, and non-Parel Jack Dempsey. All of these fighters Tom Lees had a win against in simulation. His biggest miss was not fighting for the middleweight champion in 1887 with non-Parel Jack Dempsey. That would be his biggest miss, as he was certainly ready for a heavyweight or a middleweight title shot in 1887 with Jack Dempsey, as he was one of the premier fighters then. Okay, and now we're going to go through Tom Lees' fighting record here. As I stated, Tom Lees started in 1884 is when he made his debut. He immediately started fighting Peter Jackson, and January of 1884. At this point, he was 25 years old, and there are no newspaper results for a few of these beginning bouts, as mainly because they were probably privately held bouts in the school, and the public wasn't attending them, and not to mention they weren't any kind of big name then, because they're literally just it's the first fight of their career. No one's reporting on it, so because they aren't anybody at that point. His next fight would be Peter Jackson II again in January of 1884, as these guys are just doing little quick sparring sessions with 4-round bouts, and there's no newspaper results, and they're just no contest bouts. There's no winner or loser. Then in February 1884, that's his next one, against Peter Jackson, number 3. Again, no decision, 4-round bouts. And the first big fight he has here is Bill Farnan in February of 1885. At that point, Tom Lees is still 25 years old, and this results in a 3-round draw. So again, there's no real winner or loser here, as Tom Lees is kind of just getting started in his career. Okay, so his next bout of significance that happens here is in May of 1885 against Bill Farnan, and this would be the second match, and this is the one that really matters. This is a 12-round win with a KO, and these are the newspaper notes that I have here of the match. May of 1885, Tom Lees 12-round KO win over Bill Farnan II. These are the newspaper notes. Farnan was very severely punished. From first to the last rounds, Lees did nothing but hammer Farnan's face and body with both hands, and he received comparatively little damage in return. Round 1, Farnan draws first blood with opening a wound on Tom Lees' lip, bleeding. Round 2, Lees briefly knocked down, but no damage was done, and he gets up immediately. Round 4, Lees had Farnan staggering. For a moment, the fight looked over. However, Farnan was taking his punishment gamely. Round 5, Lees was banging away and jumped back like a cat, is how they described it, as being very quick on his feet. Round 6, Lees started taunting Farnan, saying, "You can't hurt me," and again it looked like finish would happen very soon. Round 7, Farnan's nose and mouth were covered in blood from Lee's repeated attacks on him. Round 8, Farnan was helpless. Farnan's second may as well thrown in the towel at the sponge at this point. Round 9, Farnan hit the canvas. He was, let's see here. Bill Lees was doing as he liked. It was only time being called that saved Farnan at this point. Round 10, Lees rained body blows. Only Farnan's dogged pluck kept him up. Round 11, Farnan again goes down and rises. It took more severe punishment as the round ended. Round 12, Farnan came out very weakly. A right hand knocked him out. Lees jumped the rings to show his freshness to the crowd as he was applauded going to his dressing room. So you literally jumped the top rope like Superman and just beat the dog crap out of Bill Farnan in this second encounter. Tom Lee's next match of note was in April of 1886. This was a full year after Bill Farnan II, and this is Bill Farnan III. This is April 19th, 1886, and this ends in a 19-round draw. But I give Tom Lee's credit for a victory on this. He won the newspaper decision here. These are the notes that I have for Bill Farnan III. Lees punished Farnan considerably. Round 10, Farnan appeared helpless. Farnan's right eye was closed, and Lee did as he liked. Police broke down the ring and stopped the onslaught. Lees was the winner from start to finish, the newspaper recalls. The bout was stopped in round 19, and basically from round 10 on, Bill Farnan appeared helpless. The next one on his match is a few days later when Farnan again challenges him because the police stopped the bout and he didn't technically, quote, get knocked out, even though Bill Farnan clearly won the match. So they fight again a few days later, and Farnan at this point is knocked out in 4 rounds. So Tom Lee completes as a knockout, and there's no mention of this fight in the newspapers, as I guess it was pretty uneventful, and it was the next day, and I'm not sure how Bill Farnan's face had to feel the next day after just getting considerable punishment. But these guys were so tough, they went right back into the ring with fresh wounds, and he just got his butt knocked out, so it was not a very wise decision. So that was just about the end of Bill Farnan's career. Unlike the other Australians, he wasn't part of the boxing school, I don't think, and he managed to not do much, have a very short career, as he was a little bit older than these other Australians that are getting started. Tom Lee's next match of note here is at the age of 27. This is 1886 in August, and he gets a 4-round win over the New Zealand boxer Bob Fitzsimmons. And there's not a real lot of newspaper descriptions of this match, but I was able to find something. And the only newspaper description describes Bob Fitzsimmons as no match for the Australian heavyweight champion, which at that point they're referring to Tom Lees, because he won the championship by beating Bill Farnan. So at this point in this late summer of 1886 is the first mention of Tom Lees fighting John L. Sullivan. That's the first time that the newspapers mention this happening. And it really probably should have happened. I mean, John L. Sullivan would certainly have a lot more names on his resume if he would have actually came into Australia and started fighting these Australian fighters, particularly when they were young and didn't have a lot of experience. He would have racked up some amazing wins if he was able to get some victories over them. So even at that point, Bob Fitzsimmons, I guess, according to this, wasn't no match for the Australian fighters. His next match of note here is in September of 1886. He's again 27 years old, and this is the match that actually matters. This is 9/25/1886, and this is his 30-round loss on a TKO to Peter Jackson. And this was Tom Lee's career achievement bout, as they go back and forth. Tom Lees and Peter Jackson as the boxing school, and they actually fight a real match here instead of doing exhibition matches, because they're trying to decide at this point who is the Australian heavyweight champion. Tom Lees is at this point going into the fight, and we're going to see if Peter Jackson can take the Australian heavyweight championship away from him. And I guess you're going to find out that he managed to accomplish that. And these are the newspaper notes that I have here. The headline reads, Peter Jackson knocked his opponent all over the ring. No two better conditioned men ever stepped into the ring than Peter Jackson and Tom Lees on Saturday night. After a very slow start, round 12, Lees, caught against the rope, goes down briefly. Round 13, 2 times Lees goes down in this round as Jackson was in hot pursuit. Round 14, hard round. Both take abuse. Hard infighting happening between both fighters. Round 15, back and forth action. Round 16, one of the hardest fought rounds ever seen. Lees appears much stronger than Jackson at this point. Round 17, matters appear somewhat unsettled at this point. Rounds 21 to 23, Jackson gets the better of these rounds, once knocking Lees to his knees. Round 23, Lee got his left home hard and had Professor Jackson spitting blood for the first time in the contest, as Lees attempts to start talking, abuse to Jackson, asking him how his blood tastes. Round 24, Jackson was the much fresher of the pair. Some of his punches appeared to take great effect on the Victorian fighter known as Tom Lees. Round 25, Lee's nose gave vent to the claret as blood began to flow. Round 26 and round 27, Lee being beaten on all points and still suffering the effects from round 24. Round 28, Jackson appears more fresh and gets home many shots. Round 29, Jackson had his man at his mercy, knocking him all over the ring. In round 30, Lees came out thoroughly beaten fighter. A hard right sent him down, and the sponge was thrown in. Round 16 was the turning point. Instead of getting worse, Jackson appeared to improve. The following morning, Jackson does not appear to have any marks on his face, as Lees has multiple cuts healing the following day. So after the Peter Jackson-Tom Lees bout, which took place in September of 1886, they developed a friendship because they were both raised in the Larry Foley boxing school. And Tom Lees starts promoting Peter Jackson as a promoter as he joins his camp. And when Peter Jackson comes over to the United States in 1888, Tom Lees is accompanying him, and that's when his next fights take place. So he's got a good, solid, let's see here, about a 2-year break in boxing. He's going to start again at the age 30, which I said he's almost practically spent here after he went 30 rounds with Peter Jackson. It seemed to really take a toll on Tom Lee's end of the bargain. But he's going to be promoting Peter Jackson as he comes here. And I'd like to point this out at this time. You can really not glean too much by reading the boxing records and just looking through fighters' matches. It's very difficult, particularly in these early years, to gain knowledge by just examining a quick thing on the boxing records. And I'm going to prove to you this point right now. Is Tom Lee's next match of consequence was in December of 1888 against Jack Fallon. Now, he had 2 matches with Fallon, and there's 2 losses on BoxRec for Tom Lees there, when in fact, Tom Lees actually did not lose either of the matches against Jack Fallon. And I'm going to explain to you how here. Now, the first fight he had against Jack Fallon, as he's in the United States at this point, December 1888, the newspaper reports that the referee likely had money on the match and awarded the match for Fallon, when in fact every newspaper reports states the next day that Tom Lees won the match against Jack Fallon. And the second match on BoxRec with Jack Fallon 2, that match actually never happened. There's no newspaper reports of it happening, which again credits Tom Lees with a loss. So just going through the fight records, you see he lost twice to a very D-rated fighter in Jack Fallon, when in fact he actually lost neither of the matches, that they are giving him credit for losing on BoxRec. So that's why you need to look a little deeper sometimes when just examining these fight records, because they don't in any way portray the accurate events of unfolding. Tom Lee's next match of consequence, after he does a few exhibition boxing matches with Peter Jackson, which are in the summer of 1889. In July of 1889, when he's still in the United States, he's going to meet the big heavyweight Joe McAuliffe. That's how I think you say it. And he gets an 8-round loss, and these are the newspaper notes for the McAuliffe match. The 7th round closes as both men are badly winded. The 8th round, Lees goes down, but got up quickly. McAuliffe comes after him like a tiger. He had him at his mercy. Couple rights and the fight was over. McAuliffe was not hurt while Lee was presented a bloody spectacle. Like I said, at this point, Tom Lees is 30 years old and clearly past his prime, and McAuliffe is considerably bigger than him, as he's a light heavyweight and he's fighting one of the first true natural heavyweights that's over 200 pounds. And the next match, he's going to again wait 2 years, and he's going to be even farther out of his prime at this point. He's 32 years old. This takes place in May of 1891, and this is the first match with the barrier champion, Joe Goddard. And these are the newspaper notes here. Joe Goddard won. The newspaper headline reads, Tom Lees was knocked down several times and presented no offense. Round 6, Lees knocked down, and he was badly exhausted, his face badly swollen. Round 7, Lees again goes down. Round 8, Lees dazed and knocked down 3 times as he barely makes it through the round. Round 9, Lees complained his eyes were blinded as if someone put something on them trying to get out of the match. At this point, they call it a TKO win for Joe Goddard in round 9, as Lees complained that he couldn't see clearly and his eyes were compromised. But in all actuality, he was very much at the end of the rope, as he was knocked down a total of about 5 or 6 times at this point in the match. And it was quite obvious that the towels should have been thrown in. So whether he quit because his eyes couldn't see, or whether he quit because he couldn't continue, it's not really too relevant, as he clearly lost the match. So a few months later, Tom Lees is 33 years old, and this is Joe Goddard II. This results in an 8-round draw, and these are the newspaper notes of Joe Goddard II. Tom Lees comes out in round 1 like a man determined. Lees connects with a wicked left, and Goddard goes down. Goddard is up at 7 seconds, and Lee forces the fighting to the man and brings him down again. Goddard rises but is groggy. With his bulldog determination, he pulls through the round, and this was as bad of a round as he has ever fought in his life. Round 2 was in Goddard's favor. Rounds 3 through 8 both made a very sick showing of boxing. Both appeared miserably fatigued in this style. Both received much punishment in the early rounds, and a draw verdict was reached at the end of 8 rounds. Goddard was out of condition and was in no condition to fight the match. So the end result is an 8-round draw between Tom Lees and Joe Goddard. And this was basically Tom Lees' swan song, as he got a small smidgen of revenge against Joe Goddard for losing the first match. Now, Tom Lee's next fight of consequence on there is considerably later. It states that May of 1898 against Frank Slavin, and this was described as a 20-round draw. At this point, Tom Lees would be 39 years old and way past his prime. But there's absolutely no newspaper reports of this match ever happening. I scanned up and down the year, and it looks like as if this match was, again, not actually happened, as he never managed to be able to fight Frank Slavin, which would have been a great fight, but Frank Slavin is still a little large in size for Tom Lees, but he's no larger than Joe Goddard. So that's the end of Tom Lees' run as the heavyweight boxer, and he had a very short prime from 25 to 30 years old, but he was very formidable in his prime and gave Peter Jackson one of his best matches when Peter Jackson was at his youngest and most vital. He fought him in his very beginning of his prime and gave him a terrific battle, and they developed a friendship, and that was pretty much just about really the real end of the true prime of Tom Lees. As he may not be a household name, and a lot of people may not know who he is, but he was still one of the premier Australian fighters at the beginning of the 1880s, and he, for pound, he was a fantastic fighter, as he was most often matched against people that were larger in size than him. Certainly one of the great matches would be Tom Lees against Jake Kilrain, as they were both the same size, and that match should have happened when he came over in the United States. It certainly should have been matched, as that would have been a very good fight, and they would have been very equally matched. So that's the end of Tom Lees' boxing profile. Now, as I sign off here, I'd like to say that I was unable to find any photographs of the boxer Tom Lees, because he's one of the very early boxers in the 1880s, and for some reason there appears to be, to my knowledge, no photo of him. But if anybody is able to find one, I'd greatly appreciate it, and I can put it on the feed. But I was unable through newspaper searches to find any photograph of boxer Tom Lee.